Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Yours truly is a day late with the astrology forecast. Spring is coming early here on the farm, and I wanted to get all our a bunch of seeds in the ground for the herbs. So thank you for your patience with me. It's Monday, but we're going to start with Sunday because this week is really, this is really the true beginning point of the astrological new year. We had on Friday, we had the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere. And I have a gathering on that. I'll put a link below if you want to check it out. It's a pretty big deal, the astrological new year this year, because it's linked up with the Saturn Neptune conjunction, and it's also just linking with larger cycles of time. So we truly are an inception point. Excuse me. And this week is the sun has just entered into Aries, and the sun is going to encounter immediately Neptune, Saturn, and Pluto. And those are the three outer planets that are shaping this evolutionary path that we're on, because those outer planets changing signs is really what is the driving force that's afoot with the transformation that we're experiencing. So this week is not really a casual beginning. It's a week where vision and, responsibility and healing, they're all present. And we're not just asked to begin right now. We're we're asked to begin with integrity. So let's start with Sunday the 22nd, which is actually yesterday. Let me tell you about what happened yesterday. We had the sun conjunct Neptune and Aries in the morning or around 7 a.m. And so this really gave us a blending of integrity and vision, because the sun is our self, our ego, our identity. Neptune is imagination. Neptune is illusion and delusion. Neptune is spirituality and the dissolving of boundaries. So in Aries, this becomes a very visionary initiation. So, you know, there might be this sense of at the start of the week feeling inspired, but maybe not 100% clear about what to do about it. There's also might be this sense of feeling connected to something larger than oneself. So yesterday wasn't a day for sharp decisions per se. It was a day for just kind of feeling into and witnessing and watching the unfolding of what wants to emerge. That's Mick Jagger, and he's barking at a squirrel. My apologies. So let's go on to today, Monday, March 23rd. We have a couple aspects here today. There's two of them, and one of them started at 2 a.m. this morning, and that was Mercury conjunct the North Node. Today's really a day about, because North Node is about our destiny. So this is about being like listening to the destiny and letting our actions be innovative. So Mercury conjunct the North Node. This is, Mercury is our communication. Mercury is our very much our physical world communication, our thoughts, our words, but it also is reaching for a higher octave here, because Uranus is very active. So it's very much also about our vibration. And so the North Node is representing the path forward for us. And these two are conjunct in Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac. So this, suggests that maybe our sense of destiny speaks through subtle insights, intuitive hits, meaningful communication. That could be verbal communication. That could even be telepathic communication. There's a lot of different ways that we can receive information today and in general. I would say pay attention to subtle energy. Pay attention to what arises gently. The other aspect that's happening today happened closer to 7 a.m., and that is Mars quintile to Uranus. So this is creative, intelligent action. Mars invites us to take action, but Uranus is going to invite us to be more innovative about that, to shift our approach, to try something new, to maybe, I'm just going to say, take a different approach, but also to understand that this is innovative energy, but it's innovation without chaos. This is about a higher order understanding coming through. Moving on to Tuesday, March 24th. This is a quieter day. There's nothing really direct happening. So I often think of these as days of integration. Um, Hi, Nelly. So this is just a day to let things settle and to really understand that, not all beginnings require this kind of immediate action, that we can let things unfold in their own time. I'm sorry, you guys. Nellie and Mick Jagger apparently really want to say hi. Okay, let's get to Wednesday, March 25th. So Wednesday, March 25th, we have a couple things happening. This is one of the most defining days of the week. We have the Sun conjunct Saturn in Aries at around 5 a.m. And when the Sun meets Saturn, this means our identity meets responsibility. And this is where our vision can really be something that we can sign up for, that we can decide to commit to. We might feel more focused. We might feel more uh not serious, but just taking things seriously, aware of what is required of us long term. And when Sun is conjunct Saturn in Aries, this is about, Aries is saying begin, but Saturn is saying, build what you're building with discipline. So the question might be around this day is what are we really willing to commit to? What's really within our heart and our soul? The other two aspects that are happening on Wednesday, we have Venus semi-square to the North Node. This might be a kind of recalibration in our values, in our relationships with each other. Um, Semi-square means something, there's a little friction there. So, but it's not meaning something's wrong. It's just showing us there might be an opportunity for readjustment. And then in the middle of the day on Wednesday, we have Sun sextiling Pluto. So this is really going to bring us grounded power. Pluto is, I would offer the leader here in what we're experiencing, this type of transformation collectively, leading us into Aquarius, leading us into this kind of decentralized, shifting from top-down power to circular power to network power to community power. And Pluto definitely was the first one to kick off all of these outer planets changing signs. And we still have another planet that's going to change signs in April. So we're still in the middle of this. But when we have the Sun sextiling to Pluto, that is a flowing energy. And that's really wonderful because Pluto is the outermost planet, right? It's the most subtle energy. And the Sun is just this central part to our physical world. So having them flow energy really will help us, have integrity with what we're doing. Maybe, like I was saying, grounded power, or just this quiet sense of authority and presence. And this doesn't mean forceful. This means understanding that we belong, understanding that we're powerful, understanding that we're deeply rooted, understanding that we're interconnected and that we're supported. Great day on Wednesday. Let's move along to Thursday, March 26th. This is a day of healing through honesty. And this is because Chiron's involved and Venus is involved. The first aspect that happens is Mercury is semi-square to Venus just before noon on Thursday. Semi-square means the heart and the mind might not necessarily 100% align. Semi-square, as I mentioned, is friction. I would just say pause before responding. Be mindful of communication. Be um, heartful about your communication. Be thoughtful about our communication. I'm not speaking to you. I'm speaking to myself included. The second aspect around 7 o'clock is we have Venus conjunct Chiron. So this is interesting because she starts off semi-square to the planet of communication, but by the end of the day, she's uh, in a really deeply healing transit. Because as we know, Chiron often represents old wounds or like a trauma that can be reactivated, and Venus is going to bring, if there are any old wounds, into our awareness through our relationships, through our understanding of justice and balance and harmony. And, in Aries, this is about healing courage. This is about healing, owning the power of ourselves as healers, and ourselves as everything we do has the potential to be a healing moment for ourselves, for our family, for our community. But also it's an okay day if we feel a little bit vulnerable on Thursday to again just put it in neutral. If there's an old pattern that comes up, realize that the patterns circulate within us. I've said this before, but our main pattern, if there's a main wound, it hits us right on our center line the first time it happens to us, maybe in childhood, and we spend a long time working through that pattern. We get back on track, we get back online, and then maybe something else happens 10 years later that hits us in our shoulder and it knocks us over in a similar fashion. And it smells and feels very similar to the original pattern, but it's slightly different. We pick ourselves up, we get back on track a little bit faster. We're still a little bit rocked, but we're okay. And then it happens again and it hits our right at the end of our shoulder. We get knocked over, we get all freaked out, but we get back up quicker than ever. And then now at this point, I'm talking about how something cycles. If you think about a cycle in our toroidal energy field, and there's some point where it doesn't even actually hit us in our physical world, but it's right in our field, and we can feel it kind of haunting a little bit, or we can feel its presence. That's the type of energy that is on Thursday. So it's not necessarily going to knock us over or re-traumatize us to the same way that we've been traumatized before. It's really going to be a chance for us to say, okay, this is something that I recognize, and I'm going to breathe, and I'm going to choose a new thought. I'm going to be positive with myself. And also, I'm going to remember that I have been on a healing path, and I am not the same person that I was 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Every time I've met a certain circumstance, I am evolving. So this is really reminding us that healing happens through awareness. Wow, I talked a lot on that one. Let's pick up the pace. Friday, March 27th, we just have one aspect, and that is Mercury semi-square to Chiron. And this is really about tender awareness. So it's interesting because it was Venus and Chiron and Venus and Mercury the day before. But here is, if Chiron's still active, this is still reminding us this is a day for gentle communication with ourselves first and foremost, because everything, the light is only as bright as the window that it shines through, right? So if there's something, we might notice a way that we've been communicating with ourselves that needs to be upgraded. And it's also just a really good day to pause. And again, I'm going to reiterate, to speak and move and be from the heart. Saturday, March 28th, we have two aspects. This is a day of deep power and lasting change. And that's because Pluto is involved in both aspects. So around 1 a.m., we have Mars semi-square to Pluto. This means there might be some tension around control or power or direction. This is a good day to avoid forcing an outcome. This is a good day to kind of let power and life move consciously and to not be in a reactionary state, to take a breath. Again, I'm part of the theme here this week is to not be reactionary, to come from the heart. And the second aspect happens in the evening on Saturday, and that is that we have Saturn sextiling Pluto. And this is one of the most important long-term aspects that's happening in the background of this week and next week. Saturn sextiling Pluto. Saturn is the planet of karma and structure. Saturn is the planet that wants us to ground down our reality. When it aligns with Pluto, which is what a sextile is, it's a flow. Pluto's about transformation, especially right now. So this is about deep, sustainable change. Let's all take a deep breath with that. But let's also know that this is foundational. This is not dramatic. This is about building something that will last. This is not about forcing an outcome or forcing a change. This is about being present. So that's it for this week. I think, if I could just give a recap, this is not an impulsive week. This is a week of intentional beginning. And the question is not, what can I start quickly and execute ASAP? This is about, what am I building with integrity? All right, guys, have a beautiful week. I'm grateful for you.